Karen, do you see the first slide of the PowerPoint?
Yeah, sure do. It's ready to go.
Okay, great. So thank you for joining us today. We're presenting this webinar to help people compare and contrast two of the leading accounting solutions, and we support and implement both of these solutions. Intacct is a fully cloud-based accounting solution built totally in the cloud, only works in the cloud. And then also Microsoft Dynamics GP, which is the most widely used accounting product in the United States, and obviously presented and owned by Microsoft and used by many tens of thousands of users in the U.S. So I'll go to the next slide. So our agenda today is going to be an introduction to the Intacct product, and then a brief demonstration of Intacct, and then an introduction to Microsoft Dynamics GP with a brief demonstration of Dynamics GP. We'll show you some comparisons between those two, and then somewhere along in the last quarter of the presentation, we'll unmute the phones and take questions and answers and have a little wrap-up screen. A little bit about SSi Consulting, so you know who we are. We were founded in 1983, so we've been in business for 31 years. We've got 3 locations: McLean, Virginia, which is our headquarters, Columbia, Maryland, and Dallas, Texas. We help customers with selecting systems, implementing, designing, and then training their staff on those systems. We provide both cloud and on-premise financial solutions. But that is a good point. We focus specifically on accounting and ERP systems. We don't really get into other types of technology, although we have partners that we work with, and we have to be aware of those other technologies for integrations. Our team is usually consists of former controllers, CFOs, CPAs, people who've worked in the financial industry with accounting software for many, many years. We also have project managers and software architects, and even a few network engineers to make sure the products run in the environments that customers have today. So a little bit about cloud computing. Everyone has heard about the cloud, and basically it means that all of those systems that used to be in our server closets at our offices are now in a data center somewhere. And instead of accessing those systems directly through a network connection in our office, we connect to these systems through the internet, and we don't really know where they're located. We don't really have a design. We don't really take care of them. Someone else manages them, does the backup, does the updates, etc. And this has transformed the way businesses work so that many of our customers today don't have any on-premise servers. In some cases, they don't really know where those servers, the servers that house their equipment is located, and they just pay a monthly rental to provide that. And that's moving to all aspects of software. If you're familiar with Office 365, that's basically all the Office suite that runs in the cloud instead of on our local laptops, and our documents are saved in the cloud. Our company actually backs up our data to the cloud so that any work that is done locally is replicated to the cloud in case something happens to a laptop. And finally, accounting software has moved to the cloud. And accounting is one of the last applications that makes fundamental technology changes. So when you start seeing accounting in the cloud, you know that it's definitely a trend that's arrived. So what do you get by being in the cloud? So one thing is better security, and a lot of people ask us, if I move my data to the cloud, how secure will my data be? And the answer is, it's probably actually more secure in a data center than it is in your on-premise data closet. You'll have better support people, you'll have more secure environments, You've got Fortune 100 data class centers. I've always had the belief that if my data is sitting next to some Fortune 100 company's data, then I'm probably sharing with the protection that they have implemented. You've got encryption, 24/7 support, and in this case, this is describing some of the things that Intacct has implemented. SunGuard Disaster Recovery Center, redundant hardware and networking, continuous backups, and then automatic upgrades. Now, Intacct has a system where they roll out upgrades to all of their thousands of users at the same time worldwide on the same day. With Dynamics GP, we'll talk about how that's a little bit different. You have to pick your date that each customer would do their upgrades. So we reduce costs. Intacct can reduce costs because they've spread those costs across thousands of organizations. So cloud wave technology uses a best-in-class approach. Rather than having all of the systems created by one vendor, the idea is to pick the best vendors and then bring those together in an integrated system, even in the cloud. And in this case, you've got financial accounting in the cloud. Now, these other options, sales, manufacturing, payroll, professional project management, there are other cloud solutions available for those, and you would integrate those to your accounting solution. But again, you're picking a best-in-class solution. You can grow in the cloud. You can start off very slow, very small, excuse me. Maybe you're a startup or a small operation with 3, 5, 6 people in accounting. As your company grows, you can simply add users. And even if you have temporary users, let's say that an auditor is coming in for 3 months and you need a user, you can actually add a user just for those 3 months. And then when that auditor leaves, you can reduce your count. And that's a flexibility of being in the cloud and subscribing to software as opposed to owning it. So in the cloud, we typically rent software, and we pay a rental fee, a monthly or annual fee, as opposed to buying a product, owning it, and then maintaining it. And we'll talk about some of those issues with Dynamics GP in a few minutes. So Intacct has the ability to grow to quite large organizations, but the focus is mid-market, companies, say, under 500 million in gross sales, having best-in-class financials, being scalable and flexible, and then continuously innovating and adding functionality to the cloud solution that you're subscribing to. One of the things that Intacct is quite proud of is the AICPA has endorsed Intacct as their recommended cloud accounting solution. So that's a pretty big vote of confidence in that product. Intacct has been implementing and innovating for 10 years, which sounds like a short period of time, but in technology, that's a lifetime. And so now we're starting to see a fairly mature product which continues to add functionality. But again, that AICPA endorsement has been a very strong factor in their growth and success. Some of the strategy used by Intacct is to have a full feature set, but also make it easy and intuitive to use. And you can see on this screen that there are some functionality maps, some pictographic, graphical presentation maps that show the ability to do functions in the system by selecting different steps. And you'll also notice that you can, since your mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, can access the internet, you can have some functionality, for instance, approving invoices and approving time. Those sorts of things can be done from a mobile device so that people who are in the organization that need to approve transactions that accounting is going to eventually pay, those people are actually able to do that approval through their device of choice. So it's built to be easy and intuitive to use, even though it is a full comprehensive accounting solution. So we're going to do a brief demo of Intacct, and I'm going to switch over to Karen as our presenter. And Karen will show you a live demo of the Intacct product just to give you a visual of what that would look like. So Karen, I'll let you take over.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Can you see my screen, or actually Carla's dashboard?
I can see it.
All right, so live demos. This is always makes you a little bit anxious, right? We're live using Intacct on a demo server. This is the way it would work if you were to roll out Intacct. So first I want to sort of start with, if you've not been exposed to Intacct before, I want to show you how easy it is to move around. We have all of our options here. You have tasks and lists and transactions. And Intacct is a permission-based system. So everybody gets set up in Intacct, and then what you see is based on what your permissions are. So I, as Carla, am the CFO. I have access to everything. Someone else in the company may only do time and expense and those kinds of things, so they're only going to see the time and expense function up at the top. Even though Intacct is a multi-tenant application, you can still personalize it to make it work the way you want to. It is important to note that we're all on the same version of Intacct, and we upgrade every quarter. And even though with those upgrades, you still have the ability to personalize it and make choices so that the system operates the way that you operate. So what we're looking at right here is a multi-entity system. So a multi-entity in Intacct is the same as multi-company. So an entity equals a company. So I am looking at, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different entities or 5 different companies but yet they're all on the same shared database. So what that means is I share the chart of accounts. I only need to maintain that chart of accounts in one place, and then I share that to all of my other entities or my other companies. We also share vendors and customers. So when I'm putting in a transaction, I can either do that directly from my company, or when I put in a transaction, I can choose which company or entity I want to charge or have that transaction hit. So this is Carla. She's looking at her consolidated dashboard. And this is really where Carla logs in to see how the consolidation of all of the companies are doing. You'll notice she's got a consolidated balance sheet. She likes to take a look at revenues based on maintenance and service lines and those kinds of things. But what's really nice is this KPI, or this visual of our global consolidation. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So you have this really nice corporate kind of picture view of how your organization is structured. So I have Paris in euros rolling up to France. And then over here in Germany, I can look at my Frankfurt information, Berlin, or I can look at it in a consolidated view of Germany. And again, you'll also notice that these are all in different functional dollars, but roll up to U.S. dollars, because that's the way I look at it from a consolidated standpoint. My U.S. division has a New York and a San Francisco. So you can choose how you look at this. So I have them consolidated. I can choose which months I want to see. I can choose the range of the information I want to see. I can even do more analysis on that data. So again, here's France. It's blue. I can drill back. I can take a look at payables, receivables, and that kind of thing. So a lot of really great information and a very nice graphical view to take a look at my consolidated information. So while that depth and functionality comes right out of the box with Intacct, as Bill mentioned, it also has the ease of use for the day-to-day end user. So now I just switched over to my U.S. company. I'm still logged in as Carla. But you'll notice if I'm putting in payables transactions, I have that nice data map or workflow that a lot of people are familiar with. I can click on entering the bill. I can follow that through to selecting those bills to pay, approving those payments, and actually printing those checks. So for the end user, I have the ability to learn the system very quickly. It's easy to deploy, and I can get up and running very quickly. So let's take a look at some of the reports that are available. So let me go back to Carla. So again, I'm still in the U.S. company, and when Carla logs in, she usually likes to have a dashboard. Now this dashboard is strictly for the U.S.-based companies, and she likes to keep an eye on vendor aging and those kinds of things. But she also has a list of reports that are available to her within the system. There's over, I don't know, hundreds of reports that are pre-written in Intacct, but you also have the ability to write and customize your own. So I'm going to take a look at the financial reports. I'm going to take a look at a balance sheet. And when I open this up, I have the opportunity to either look at my San Francisco, my New York, or my U.S., right, all of my U.S. locations, because remember, I'm in the U.S. company. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at all of my U.S. I'm going to click this on, and I have a real nice, simple balance sheet. So the blues means you can drill back. So I can drill back into this. Let's take a look at my cash. I can drill back into the actual dollar amount, and I can see all of the transactions that make that up in my general ledger report. And again, I can even drill back deeper in order to get a look at the actual transaction that created that effect. Now, one of the other things that I see is really nice about, well, let me get out of there. Let's take another look at that balance sheet in the detail. A lot of times folks get concerned about cloud-based applications. How do I get access to my data? It's out there in the cloud. Well, once I have my balance sheet or any data within Intacct, I can export that to Excel. So even though this is an awesome accounting solution, still love to do some analysis in Excel. I like to do pivot tables. So now I've exported this to Excel. I have access to this on my local machine. You'll notice it comes out formatted. It's easy to read. I can distribute it this way. I can save it to my desktop and work on it when I don't have internet access. So again, even though it's a cloud-based application, it's your data. You can get to it and work on it locally as well. Now you can also print from here. By clicking on the print button, I get to take advantage of the PDF writer. So it automatically puts it into a PDF format, and from here, I can choose to print it or I can save it. I can, take advantage of all of the functionality that comes along with a PDF writer in Intacct. So again, even though it is your data and it's in the cloud, you can save it to your desktop and work on it that way. So let me go back here real quickly. I want to show you how easy it is to set up Intacct. So when I go to Intacct and I want to deploy it, hang on a second here. There we go. So when you just go to deploy Intacct, because we're all running the same version at the same time, deploying it becomes a much easier process. So you have these great master views. So I can check off as I import my chart of accounts. I can view it. I can make sure it looks the way I want it to. There are templates available for the style that your data needs to be in. So I can import it and I can view it. And you'll notice that this is available for all modules within Intacct. So deploying it becomes a matter of getting your data in the right format and importing it into the system. Now, Intacct actually has a patented upgrade path from QuickBooks into Intacct so that you can take that QuickBooks data, do just a minimal amount of manipulation and import that into Intacct so you can get up and running quickly. So I just want to kind of wrap up with a couple of points. One is that, as Bill mentioned, it is best in class. So it has extremely deep functionality. Because it is updated quarterly, you are always getting new functionality. Yet it's easy to use by taking advantage of this nice workflow system, the step-by-step map, so the end user can be comfortable within the system. It's also easy to get your data out of Intacct so that you can manipulate it and use it when you're not connected to the internet. And finally, deploying it, because it has great checklists and it has some wonderful templates that are already within the system, it's easy to get the solution up and running quickly. So in a snapshot, that's the Intacct application. I'd love to be able to demo more functionality specific to different industries when we have a little bit more time. Bill, that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you. Bill, you might need to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see. I'm looking for the. Hang on. Did you just change back to me? There we go. Show my screen. Okay. Very good. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about Dynamics GP as the second product in today's webinar. And Dynamics GP has been around since the 80s. It started off as a DOS product and transitioned to the Windows environment in the mid-90s. So, you know, it's a very, very feature-rich product in the sense that it's been in the Windows environment for about 20 years, creating new functionality. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that. Dynamics GP differentiators. First of all, it does have deep functionality. It's a deep business solution. Simple to use, simple to learn. Microsoft is constantly spending a lot of money on user interfaces and what makes sense for users and how that works. And when we show you Dynamics, hopefully you'll see a little bit of that simplicity. Again, a tagline for them is flexible for today and tomorrow. There's been constant rollout of new feature sets and new features. It's role-tailored. So since we do have a very comprehensive set of features, the idea is to create a role and then focus on the features in the system that apply to that role. So a role might be an accounts receivable person who wants to focus on cash receipts, customer information, invoices, those sorts of things. Another role might be an accounts payable person. Another role might be a purchasing manager, etc. It has powerful business intelligence. We'll show you a few things there. And then it's desktop as well as web enabled. So instead of being originally developed on the web like Intacct is, so Intacct only exists as a browser-based product. Microsoft Dynamics originally started as an on-premise accounting solution. In other words, you installed it on your servers, and today people install it on servers in a data center and access it through the internet, so it's in the cloud. But it has footprints in both environments, so both web and desktop. A couple of the things that Microsoft recommends, top reasons to purchase, are deep functionality, and you can see some of the features there. Flexible implementation, you can have it hosted or on-premise. Rapid start implementation for quick usability. Business intelligence has business analyzer, and then Word forms, and also integrated to Excel and attaching documents in the system. So let me go back to this idea of hosted or on-premise so that you can kind of understand how Dynamics GP works. So traditionally, people purchased a server, they put it in their data closets, they bought Dynamics GP licenses, and they installed it on the servers in their office and ran it there. And then as people, as customers wanted to have access to the system from anywhere, they would start exposing Dynamics GP by installing a terminal server. And this is a server that allows someone with an internet connection to open a window and access GP, whether it's in that data closet or if it's hosted in a data center. And so they're running an on-premise application, but now the location can either be the customer's office or a data center. And we have about 40 of our customers where we host their Dynamics GP license. And they own the license. They could bring it back to their office, but they have given it to us, and we provided a hosting environment in a data center in Reston, Virginia. So they're accessing it across the internet, but they do have that flexibility to bring it back in-house. Intacct only runs in the cloud, and it's only available as a browser product. So, you know, good in some flexibility on the GP side that you don't have on the Intacct side. So this slide will list just some of the connections, some of the capabilities that the system has. You can see that there are many, many modules. Document attach, business alerts, Excel reporting, Word forms, Smart List. Those are tools that allow you to get extra data out of your system. The financials system, which normally you think of GLA, PAR, also includes bank rec, fixed assets, safe pay, lockbox, cash flow management. You can see there are many, many modules that could be useful. Gives you a sense of some of the depth of the GP product. In the distribution area, which is an area that Dynamics GP excels in, there are the standard inventory, sales order processing, purchasing, but there are also picking modules, promise modules, PO approvals and commitments, PO generators, extended pricing, and landed cost management, if those are issues that you need to manage. So again, you can see some of that depth, in this case, in the distribution area. Dynamics also includes U.S. payroll and human resource module, which is quite comprehensive, and this is a differentiator between Intacct. So if you've decided that you want to run payroll in-house and you want to cut your own payroll checks and do your own payroll deposits and payroll reporting, then that is possible in the system. We actually have a restaurant chain that has over 1,500 employees, and they use payroll to pay all of those employees and produce their W-2s and paychecks and direct deposits, etc. So that's a difference. But 80 to 90% of our customers outsource payroll, so that wouldn't be a difference. You know, it wouldn't be an issue for most people that are evaluating software. So we're going to switch back to Karen now and do a quick live demo of the Dynamics GP system. So Karen, I'm going to change back to you as presenter.
Okay. By the magic of technology, I think we might have it working. All right, so bear with me one second. Let me get this going. So as Bill mentioned, we're going to take a quick overview of Microsoft Dynamics GP. And the Microsoft term is it works the way that you do. If you are already using the Microsoft Office products, Word, Excel, it has great integrations, and therefore it is a very easy tool for the end user to adopt. So right now we're looking at the home page of Microsoft Dynamics GP. And Dynamics GP is role-based. So depending on your role within the company, you could see different information here on your home page. So for me, I'm in a finance role, but I like to take a look at my employees by department. I also like to take a look at some accounting information, overdue invoices, payables. And you notice it's kind of a cute little diagram there with a number. You can actually click into that number and get a list of what those 201 past due or payables due are. Now you can customize this to fit your role within the company. So you easily pull up the Customize Your Home page. I can add the information that I want to. I can change it, the look and feel. You can also change which reports you see. You'll notice I have here a list of all of the available reports, and I think at my last count there was about 200 available reports. I can select those and have them show up on my home page. So let's take a look at screen navigation. So this is a typical customer maintenance screen. So when I pull it up, you'll notice up here on the left-hand side, on the red, these are the required fields. Anything in blue with an underline means there's drill back capability. And this little icon right here is the looking glass. When you click that on, it gives you the ability to look up information. So for instance, I can look up all of my customers and prospects. So it's really a very intuitive tool. You can also store a lot of other information about your customers. Let's take a quick look at what's available in our options screen. So not only do I have my financial information up here, I also have a section for email addresses. Within Dynamics GP, you can email customer statements. So you don't have to log out, you don't have to save it to your hard drive and then log into your email system and send it. All from within Dynamics GP, you can send those statements. You don't have to leave the system at all to access that information. So there's also some proactive reminders that you can set up within Dynamics GP. So remember those little icons that I showed you? You can check what you want to see on there. Overdue invoices, you can check when you want to see it and those kinds of things. So again, really nice way to set up some reminders. I see a lot of people use that for taxes and things like that. Don't forget to file taxes and stuff like that. Now, access to Dynamics GP is through the user we just looked at. You can also access that information through a SharePoint site. So depending on your role and your need within the company, you can access it through SharePoint. There's also some executive dashboards that are accessible either through SharePoint or through another tool. So I can log in, I can take a look at the information that's important to me, but I'm not logged into Dynamics GP. I'm not taking a login. There's also some really great Office Excel integration. So I've created right here a list of all of my customer addresses. And you'll notice when I export it out, it is already formatted, it's easy to use, and you can set this up so that it's a live feed with your Dynamics GP system. So when I log in, I click Refresh this report, and if you've made any changes to Aaron Fitz's address in Dynamics GP, my report is automatically updated. So again, the idea is we're getting information to people that they need, but without them logging into the accounting solution. Now, depending on your rights, you can actually click on the link and it will open up a screen within Dynamics GP so you can see a little bit more information about Aaron Fitz. There's also a role for inquiries. So we talked about Dynamics GP being a role-based application. So sometimes you want to give people in your organization the ability to see information, but not actually do anything with it. So for instance, here's my cash account. I can drill into it and take a closer look at what's making up those transactions. But you'll notice I have no ability to edit those transactions. I strictly am doing an inquiry. There's a nice tool within Microsoft Dynamics GP called SmartList. Now, SmartList is a reporting tool or a query tool that's geared for the end user. You have the ability to access all of the data within the system, create your own report, and send them out to Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word. Now, I've seen a lot of people use the Microsoft Word integration to do mail merges. So maybe you want to send a letter to all of your customers or vendors or employees. You can actually set up a nice mail merge and utilize functionality that's in with Microsoft Word for creating those things, doing labels and stuff like that. It's really simple, and they did a really nice job with that. Or, of course, you can always send it out to Excel, our favorite tool, and do some manipulation to the data there as well. So there's a simple workflow and work management process. So we talked about reminders. This is another way to look at those reminders. And I wanted to bring this up because right here you'll notice it's a user. So depending on my security within Dynamics GP, I can actually have set reminders up for other people. So if I'm going to be out of town and I want to remind somebody on my team to do something for me, I can actually set that reminder up and it will show up on their desktop. So we look at accounting data after it's happened. So Microsoft GP has critical alerts. You can set up alerts within GP to alert you when things are happening. So for instance, I've exceeded a budget. I want to make sure I alert people to this. If I've reached a budget at 80% or 90%, send me alert or send someone else in the company an alert. So again, it gives you the ability to be proactive in analysis and doing an analysis of your data. Again, we talked a little bit about you can email your customers directly from within GP. Just another screen to show you that. There's some built-in workflow with Microsoft Dynamics GP that's actually pretty nice. So I'm looking at Phyllis's email, right? She uses Microsoft Outlook. She actually got an email from GP that tells her she has purchase orders that she needs to approve. She can click on this blue hyperlink, and it will bring up a copy of that purchase order, and she can approve it right there within, it's actually SharePoint. She can approve it right there. And then that information goes into Dynamics GP, and it continues through the workflow process. Some real nice workflow features within Dynamics GP. So we talked a little bit about dashboard reporting. This is called Business Analyzer. You can run this on SharePoint, or you can install it on any desktop. So it's really meant for that executive dashboard view. It's written on SQL reporting services, so you can also write your own. Now, a lot of times we focus on those executive dashboards, but Microsoft GP has something called operational BI. So for that end user, I also need to have a lot of information about a particular customer or vendor as I'm working within GP. So here's a customer. Let's go back to our favorite, Aaron Fitz. And when I pull up this customer record within Dynamics GP, you'll notice I have a little chart over here that shows me his receivables aging just for Aaron Fitz. Down here I have information about his credit limit, his payment terms, if he's paying his bills, and those kinds of things. So Microsoft calls this operational BI, and the end user, the people that are going to be in Dynamics GP on a day-to-day basis, really love that functionality. And again, here's that Business Analyzer for more that executive dashboard view. We have these available. Don't see one you like. They can be rewritten for yourself. So the idea is that Microsoft GP provides users the data they need in the format they need it. So if they don't have to be logging into Dynamics GP to access that data, they can get it via SharePoint, via Excel, or even have it emailed to them. A lot of great functionality within Microsoft Dynamics GP. So, Bill, that's it. That wraps up my GP demo.
Very good. You'll change it back to me.
I am indeed. You are now the presenter.
Okay. And
all right. Thanks, Bill.
Okay. So you see my screen now?
Yep, sure do.
Very good. All right, so now how do you compare these solutions? We'll give you some cost numbers. One of the things to think about in the difference between a cloud computing system and an on-premise system is most of the cost of cloud computing is the subscription fee, the annual fee. Implementation, in this case, they're showing 32%. These numbers are just, a general indication. It's probably bigger than that, I would say, in general for most customers. On-premise, the cost of the software can be a small portion, and then you have to customize and implement it. You have to buy your own hardware. If you host, then you would pay a hosting fee, and hardware is provided that way. IT personnel to take care of your system. You either have in-house people or you outsource it. You pay annual maintenance if you own a license, and then obviously training. One of the big differences between these two models is that in a cloud computing environment, everybody gets upgrades automatically. So in the Intacct world, you're going to have a new version, let's say October 1st. Starting about 3 months ahead of time, you'll get an email that says on October 1st, version 10.x is going to be available, is going to be on your system, and click here to learn something about the new features. And then you would be able to be prepared for that new version and turn on the features that you want to have. In the on-premise world, Microsoft GP might release an update, and you have to decide if you want to install that. You have the choice of staying on the version you're on and not installing a new release, or picking a date that's convenient for you to install it. And it doesn't happen overnight. You might be down a day or a half day while that update's being installed, and there would be a fee from your reseller for that. Whereas in the cloud environment with Intacct, there's no additional fee. It's just there on October 1st. So that's a big difference. In the on-premise world, you might think, well, on the right, cloud computing, that's Intacct. On the left, on-premise, that's Dynamics GP. But remember that Dynamics GP can be hosted, and the majority of our new customers are hosting it. So it is in the cloud too. And the other option is you can buy Dynamics GP through a subscription, annual or monthly subscription, just like you can buy Intacct. So you don't have to own the license. So those are some considerations. In the on-premise model, you have upfront licensing fees, annual maintenance. You have to decide if you put it at your office or you host it. Typically 18 to 24 months for major new releases, and you control that process. The server can be at your office or at a data center. In a SaaS model, SaaS stands for Software as a Service. You only pay for what you use. It's an annual payment, but in the case, if it was Dynamics GP, it could be a monthly payment. You access it through the internet, either through a browser or through a remote desktop. Intacct aims for quarterly updates and new features, and those new features roll out automatically. And then a really big factor in the Intacct world and in hosting is you don't have to have IT infrastructure people on staff and paying for those folks. Here's a price comparison if you were to purchase Intacct versus if you were to purchase Dynamics GP. And we've arbitrarily picked 3 users, and we've limited to just financials. Now that's, there would be other situations where the numbers would be drastically different. But this oftentimes is a typical customer. 3 users in accounting, just focused on financials, general ledger, financial statements, payables, receivables, and related modules. So Intacct is going to be $10,080, $2520 for the financial base system, and then $2520 for each user. And there's no IT support. Microsoft Dynamics GP is going to be $5450 for 3 users, so it's less expensive. Annual maintenance is about $1,000. Hosting is going to run $9,000 a year to provide a hosted environment. And your first year cost will be $15,971. Now, you're going to have to install it. You're going to have to implement it. So there would be some IT support. We didn't really put a number around that because that can vary. Second year, Intacct is still $10,000, $10,080. The same annual fee every year does not change. In the case of Dynamics GP, you're just paying for maintenance if you own the license, and you're paying for the hosting environment, which is about $9,000. So it's about $10,000. So the second year cost is almost identical. In the third year, Intacct is still $10,080. And we thought that you might want to upgrade Dynamics GP in that third year with the new release. And so we put in $5,000 there. So in that third year, the cost of Dynamics GP is $15,500. And if you look at all 3 years together, in this case, Dynamics GP is $12,000 more than Intacct. Now, we could have picked a little different configuration, and the numbers could have been similar or reversed, but the point is that they're both approximately in the same area. So costs aren't going to be a dramatic difference, although everybody's situation varies. So you kind of need to look at your own specific situation. And then we haven't really talked about implementation, which is usually the bigger number. You're going to spend more on designing the system and training your team and then rolling it out and supporting you, converting your data, getting used to using it for the first few months. And again, we provide that. That would probably be relatively similar in both cases, although Dynamics GP does have more features, so it might be a bit more if you take advantage of some of those extra features. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open we're going to unmute the phones and give you a chance to ask any questions. If you don't have questions, that's fine, but Patrick, can you go ahead and unmute phones?
I'm currently unmuting all of the lines now, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, so what questions does anybody have? We've got about 10 minutes. And if you put yourself on mute, you might need to unmute yourself. I did that earlier. It's easy to leave that.
Bill, I do know that one question did come in that I would like to see a brief overview of the budgeting capabilities for both products, or at least touch on that.
Okay, so both systems do have budgeting capabilities built into the system, and there are, if the budgeting needs are even broader than that, there are some other systems that actually enhance that budgeting capability. That would include budget approvals and department approvals and routing approvals, etc. Budgets can be stored and then presented in financials in pretty much any method that users could imagine. So, but that's a great question, because today is really just a case, and we really don't have time to go into really depth. So our hope is that if you see something here that is interesting, we would be happy to make personal arrangements for an in-depth demo directly with you, either through a webinar or to come to your office. So the next slide is going to have some contact information that you can follow up with our team. So we would be happy to do that for anything else. Are there any other questions? Well, great. So that's fine, and I'm just going to go to the next slide and show you our contacts. So if you're in the Virginia area, then I would be the best person for you to reach out to. I live in Virginia. Karen lives in Maryland and would be great for any of our Maryland prospects who are interested in more information. And June Henderson is on the call, and June is in our Dallas, Texas office, and you can see her email and phone number. So anyone in Texas who would like to have more information, feel free to reach out to June. But unless there are any other questions, we will let everybody get back to their day, and thank you very much for attending the webinar today. So we'll go ahead and close the webinar, and have a great day.